working on a memorial for those who died in Anderson County but whose remains are not claimed. It looks like a good project. Whose idea was it?
Don McCowan, who is the deputy coroner, uh, Don's office currently probably has around 250 containers of remains in his office. And Don wanted, we wanted, council really wanted a dignified way to honor those people who, for some reason, some people had no family, some people had family in straitened circumstances. It's a variety of reasons why those people are there and their remains were never claimed. So came up with the idea of a memorial, and then we already have the Pauper Cemetery out at the Civic Center, and I like that site because it's beautiful and it looks into a valley. And so they're working on it now. I'd say it's about 85% complete, but when we complete it, it will have their names on there, and their names will be there in perpetuity. And probably every 3 or 4 months we will have a ceremony, and we will have pastors there, and we will give them a good send-off. So we'll probably be doing the first one probably in April or May, but these people deserve dignity just like everybody deserves dignity, and they're going to get it, and they will be named forever.
It's a nice stone wall with plaques on it.
Plaques, and the plaques are going to be raised, and I think it's going to be very, very nice, and I think it's going to do exactly what we hoped it would do.
A lot of people don't realize that's a cemetery there, this picket fence around out there.
That's a cemetery. A long time ago, a lot of those graves weren't marked. I called up a gentleman to help me locate some graves out on that property, and this fella showed up, and he had on overalls and a hat and a stick, a long stick. I was expecting some kind of high-tech operation to locate graves. And I said, "How are you going to do this?" He said, "With this stick." He said, "I test how the dirt is, because if dirt's been disturbed, it's different from the dirt around it. And if I hit something, that there's an odor that tells me that there was a grave there." So that's very interesting. And I'm looking, like I said, for science and machines and chemistry and science, and that's what it was.
Sometimes the old ways are the best ways.
Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. So this is a continuation of that. So we're excited about that.
Well, that whole property that encompasses the Civic Center all the way up to the sheriff's office and all has been county property for a long time.
It's been county property forever. The old folks' home used to be out there. The stockade was there, which I was there the day we blew up the stockade. There's a many people in Anderson don't know that the stockade is where the Civic Center building is. And they grew their own food, and they did a whole lot of other things at that stockade. Sometimes there was more lawlessness at the stockade than there was outside of the stockade. So when that disappeared, it was an improvement in corrections in Anderson County. But that has a long history, and as a matter of fact, Mr. Rich Otter, attorney and local historian of great renown, former mayor, is doing a history of that property and all its many uses and history over the past. This week, we are upset this week because the Amelia Earhart marker is missing. Somebody stole it. So what we're going to do is redo the Amelia Earhart monument and put it in a more prominent place where people won't steal it, because you know she landed there, and she landed there in that old beech nut hydro, whatever kind of plane it was. We have all of those pictures, so we need to put that in a prominent place where people can see that, because I think that's a great deal of history. And I know you love to read, and Gore Vidal wrote a great book about Amelia Earhart. Lots of truth, lots of fiction, but a very good book nonetheless. So we have that going on out there. But I mean, that was the old folks' home. People grew their own food. That's where road maintenance used to be. We had magistrates' offices out there one time. People don't realize that back in the day, the sheriff actually lived in our county jail. They had living quarters, so his family lived at the jail. So I'm looking forward to Mr. Otter's history, because he's putting all that together, and it should be good. And we had the white stockade, we had the African American stockade. So just a lot of things happen there, and it's going to be good.
While we're talking about the Civic Center, any updates on the new stage, and when it'll be ready for acts to show?
They could begin work now, but if they began work now, it would interfere with some concerts that we're having. So we're asking them to hold off doing anything till around September the 10th. But it really works out well because we would have a stage halfway built because it is so hard to get the materials necessary to build that stage. But just the threat of that stage is attracting more interest to the amphitheater than it has in the past, and it will pay for itself. So it probably won't be up until January. But again, every time we try to build something, materials, back order, backlog, all of those things.
And speaking of that, just behind where that stage will be, there's finally a lot of visible progress on Kid Venture. Is it still on track to be ready to open Memorial Day?
Had a meeting with the construction crew yesterday, and they still think that they're going to make their original deadline, and I do not know how because of all the rain we've had. And we've always had this problem, and a lot of people have this problem. It rains, then the sun comes out the next day, and you think that they should be working. Well, it's still bogged up in mud, and it could take 2 or 3 days for it to dry out so you can work. But then it rains again, so then you complete that process. But these are real good contractors. They actually installed the water storage facility for the splash pad this week. So that's already coming in, so that's coming along real well. And we will be receiving another donation. I can't remember whether it's next week or the following week. Another group donating money to help us finish Kid Venture. So we're still collecting money. People are still giving us money, so that's an ongoing process. We also just repaired the bridge near the dam. So we just finished that with the brand new bridge over there. And so got a whole lot of things going out there. We're getting ready for the State Dixie Youth Tournament, getting ready for the World Series Dixie Youth Tournament. Continues to be used constantly. Our cricket players are still over there playing. We have Councilman Davis has several activities planned, job fairs and other things for the balloon launch field. So a lot of activity. We've got a small business fair that we're working to put together with some people who are interested in doing that. So all of that property is getting good use. So that's what it's built for. That's what it's designed for. And the council is keeping the improvements. We also are doing a beautification bank stabilization project on MLK Boulevard. We had behind the baseball fields. I mean, that place looked horrible and terrible. So not only are we stabilizing those banks, but we're also going to make it beautiful. So when you ride down that road, it's going to be something pretty to see instead of, well, there's some stuff.
Are all the pickleball courts done?
Our pickleball courts out of the Civic Center are done. We're working on the pickleball courts at Hurricane Springs Park. The town of Williamston, thanks to their great leadership, they're getting their pickleball courts ready. And we have future plans for pickleball courts at Dolly Cooper Park, which, by the way, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we will be having a little groundbreaking for even more improvements at Dolly Cooper Park. Partnering with New Spring, we're going to have a large picnic shelter out there, and we're going to be doing some paving and some road work, moving dirt around and things like that. So that process of improving Dolly Cooper Park still marches forward, and we're doing that in increments. I really want to thank Representative Wes Cox for his many contributions on that, Senator Cash, and Jimmy Davis, Councilman Jimmy Davis is always working on that. We also have some possibly exciting private developers interested in doing something on that river along the lines of possibly a resort or a day resort or something like that. And we've had several meetings with them, but all of that's been inspired by the Blue Trail, the Saluda River Blue Trail, and what's going on at Dolly Cooper Park. So we think that whole area is going to become a river destination, which is leaking down into Piedmont, which is also hitting Pelzer and West Pelzer. Speaking of Pelzer, today at 2 o'clock, we should have a press release on Kelly Engineering, homegrown, local man done good, going to be adding 80 more jobs. They do all kinds of specialty work. So that'll be 80 new jobs here in Anderson County over in the Pelzer area. So County Council's excited about that. We've worked with them from the beginning. So that's going real good. So we're always happy for new jobs. We love foreign investment. We love national companies locating here. We really love local people doing good and the council having a chance to assist them in their growth.
Get back to that in a second. Dolly Cooper also is going to have an event in May to show off. What will people see that haven't been out there in a year?
If they hadn't been out there in a year, they're going to see our new dock work out there. They're going to see those staging areas. If they haven't been out there in the year, they'll be seeing the baseball field. There are a lot of things they'll be seeing out there. It continues to be a great place for frisbee golf and things like that. We're also putting the sheriff's fueling station up there, which you really can't see from the park. It's up there near the convenience center, but we're putting that up there, and that's going to be there so that our sheriff's deputies can fuel in Powdersville and not spend unnecessary time riding around going here, there, and yonder to get gas. Boom, they go there, we control it. It's going to make it a lot easier and keep deputies on the road more often than having to spend all this time getting gasoline.
And of course, that'll be followed. We'll talk about this more next month. The Saluda River Alley is right on
Saluda River Alley's coming
a few
up.
weeks away.
So we've got that coming up. So that Rhythm on the River looks like that's going to be a really great event. And naturally, they couldn't have it for the last year because of COVID. But I think that's going to be a real big event. And Saluda River Alley continues to grow, so that's going to be a good event.
And we kind of veered off. I was going to ask you a couple more things about the Civic Center, but one of the things that is very noticeable is the progress on the walking track that will eventually connect to the East-West Parkway and all the way to Anmed on 81.
Yes.
Is it still on target to be done by Labor Day, maybe?
Allegedly, it's going to be done by Labor Day. Again, rain, and we understand rain. You can't work in rain, but we expect that to be finished, and we also expect that to hook into a lot of other trails that are under development. And we're also looking at a variety of different trails, maybe one to Belton area on an old railroad right-of-way. So we're looking at all of those things because those things are economic development. They bring people here, and they bring people who enjoy those amenities. And if you don't have those amenities, they're going to go somewhere else. And they come here, and we'd also like for the people who live in Anderson County to be able to take advantage of these things. Well, I'm going to Travelers Rest to the Swamp Rabbit Trail. We'll wonder if we have the equivalent here. We got a whole lot of stuff going on around here and a lot of good stuff. So, we're as good or better than anybody else.
Well, and it's very visible on both ends of that trail now that you're seeing. And right in the middle of it, we just had a ceremony to dedicate a park in honor of a former council member. How did that come to fruition?
Well, when we were all working on the East-West Parkway, and a whole lot of people had a whole lot to do with that, to make that a reality, and it was opposition to it too. But Mr. Crowder was a champion of the East-West Parkway. He was also a champion of tightening all of the regulations, land use regulations around the East-West Parkway. He didn't want it to turn into a commercial center where you can't get by, you can't do anything. He wanted it to remain pretty and as pristine as possible. And then he also recognized the fact that we needed a place for people to sit down, so we put benches, and we also needed lighting, so we put solar lighting out there. And then it became obvious that we needed a park and a restroom for people to be able to stop, rest, refresh, or just come to the park and just have a picnic and look at things. So we put that together. We got funding from the county. We got a great deal of funding from Representative Brian White. He helped us with that. And you can't leave out former Councilman Craig Wooten because he really was a champion of that too. So you had a lot of people with the same goal trying to make that a reality. And so we have some more work to do there. It's perfect as it is, but there are a few more amenities that we could put there. And council, while they were out there last Sunday at 3 o'clock for the dedication, they were pointing out things that they would like to see and things we could do to enhance it.
And that parkway area, what can the county do to try to maintain its intent not to be overdeveloped?
Well, council put a law in place that a majority of council cannot change. It has to be a super majority to do that. So that makes it much more difficult. And council's been approached by developers who said, we'd like to put a real nice development that's going to be compatible with the park. And by the way, in order for us to do this, would you give us a fee in lieu of taxes? And council said, no, we'll not give you a fee in lieu of taxes. We don't want anything there. We like it just the way it is. Now, we don't control every bit of it, but we certainly would like to have it remain just as much as possible the way it looks now.
And people can't build with access onto the parkway, right? No
That-
matter who does
nobody-
anything.
DOT's not gonna get anybody access on that. No, it would defeat the purpose. How many bypasses did they do in towns? Well, we're gonna do this to speed traffic, and what happened? Every one of them got built up to the detriment of the downtown area. So, that needs to stay just like it is.
Another park, Wellington, was recently unveiled and had a solid crowd on hand for the opening for those new courts and fields. That area has been needing an upgrade for a while, and it's been on the county's radar for a good while too, right?
Yep, we had a very nice group. Mr. Elder came in there with an idea. County council jumped all over that idea. We put county money in it. We received contributions on that. We went down there early Saturday morning to get ready for the little groundbreaking ceremony to officially open it. And I was down there pretty early, and you already had kids out playing soccer out on the baseball field, and you had kids bouncing basketballs. They were there about 8 o'clock. They were ready to go. And so we had a real nice ceremony, honored everybody. Really want to thank Restoration Church for coming out there and feeding everybody free hot dogs. I only had 4. And then Pastor Wiles at the church right across the way, Pastor Wiles opened his arms in church and helped. And it was just a great day. And the greatest thing was seeing all of those kids there playing. We had soccer players from AU. We had professional soccer players from the Greenville Triumph over there. And had the West Side Girls state champion basketball team over there, and lots and lots and lots of kids. And Walter Lanier from the Homeland Park Association had collected a lot of soccer balls and basketballs, not a lot, a zillion soccer balls and basketballs. And every kid that came there either got a soccer ball or a basketball. I think towards the end you could get one of each. So it was a great day, and that park is being heavily used. And we're not through there yet because we need to spruce up the picnic area, because we need to put some nice benches there, which we're already in the process of doing, and a grill or 2 down there so people can have a picnic there. We also want to screen it from the tire company, so we're debating on what type of vegetation would be ideal to do that screening. So we have a lot of plans for that park, and that park is getting heavily used. And it is only one of, well, it's really the only one. There are 3 like that in the country, but 2 were retrofits. Ours was from the ground up. And we have soccer goals that you can pull up or lower. So you can play soccer or basketball. And actually you can play soccer on one half and basketball at the other time. And it seems right now to be about 50-50 split. But we also made improvements to the baseball field, and we have more improvements to do there. So
And y'all been looking at that for a long time out there.
been looking at that for a long time, and we're able to pull different grant funds and private contributions and all to make that happen.
In other recreation news, one of the big things is the return of the soiree later this month. Remind people what the role the county has in this festival.
Well, the county's one of the principal sponsors, and we are going to have like the emergency personnel, emergency medical personnel. The county will supply that. The city came up with the idea. They thought it was time to bring it back, and we wholeheartedly want to support them in that endeavor. We think it's going to be good for Anderson County. We think it's going to be good for the downtown area, and since this is the courthouse town, we hope everybody comes. And if the weather's nice, I do believe everybody is going to come. We also help them in securing the title sponsor, Upcountry Fiber, which is a partnership between Blue Ridge Electric and Western Carolina Telephone, forming a joint venture called Upcountry Fiber. So the city's done a wonderful job on that. We have a member of the committee on there, so that's coming up.
Could this lead to maybe farmers market downtown one of these days, or who knows?
Well, I'd like to have the farmers market downtown, but we're working towards that.
We've talked about recreation now for 20 minutes and haven't even mentioned Green Pond Landing, or as you call it, the legendary Green Pond Landing.
Legendary Green Pond. Other people call it that, Greg.
Oh, other people call it. Okay. Anything new out there to report?
Well, we got another huge fishing tournament coming up in 2 weeks, national professional fishing. So we have another tournament coming out there, and we have secured the land right there that is going to prevent future unwanted development. But we also know that there are private developers looking at the old Tiger Paw campground, and we think that there's going to be a huge campground there, which would be ideal. It would be located right next to Green Pond Landing. So Green Pond's doing what it was supposed to do. It's sparking development and interest on the lake. And Big Water Marina, I think they're going through an approval process right now to have a floating water park. Shores of Asbury, they're going to have a floating water park. So the idea is,
Are they still on track for this summer, it looks like?
if it will stop raining, yes. But more things for people who don't live on the lake to have opportunities to go out and enjoy the lake, and that's what it's all about. So we're looking forward to those.
And the county's also reached an agreement with a theater group to do plays at the amphitheater this summer, is that?
Yes, we're actually going to have a theater at Green Pond in our amphitheater, and also excited about this coming Sunday. We're going to have sunrise service there. Grace Church is there. Some people may know it was Old Green Pond Baptist, and some other churches are going to have a sunrise service at Green Pond at the amphitheater, and we think that's going to be absolutely wonderful. So we're looking forward to that. So there's always something going on at Green Pond, and sometimes we'll have a tournament, and it's not a huge tournament, but it's a tournament. And so it's getting a lot of use, and we're continuing to do things there. But securing that property that council wanted us to get to prevent something that would take away from Green Pond was huge. It's also going to allow us to have another entrance into Green Pond, so we're excited about that.
And you're still in the process, really, of planning all that can be done with the amphitheater, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, because we want concerts out there and other things like that. But right now, other people are finding uses for the amphitheater, and that's good. Like Meals on Wheels is going to do their poker run. They're going to headquarter out of Green Pond Landing. That will be a 2-day event. We're excited about that. As I mentioned earlier, we have an antique boat show that's coming out there. We're going to have car shows coming out there. They're already booked to come out there. So it gets a whole lot of use from a whole lot of different things, other than anybody can go out there anytime they want to and just go sit out there and watch the lake or do what they want to. You don't have to fish. You don't have to have an organized activity. It belongs to you, the people in Anderson County. You can go out there anytime you want and just sit and wander around, wade in the water, do what you want to.
I think I overheard you talking about Mountain View, our only Lake Russell access. They're going to repair the dock out there?
We're going to have to do a whole lot of things to Mountain View. That is our only boat ramp on Lake Russell, and it has fallen into it didn't fall into serious disrepair. It was vandalized beyond belief, absolutely beyond belief, because it's way down there. So remote in the county, and people come in there and literally tear it up. So we're looking to make it as much as you can vandal-proof, because we need that access on that lake. That lake's undeveloped. When you go out there are no houses on that lake. It is nothing but trees and nice things and nature. Quiet, very, very quiet, and we need to preserve that access to Lake Russell.
It's not really a park, but how close are we to seeing grass on the elephant pit land?
The elephant pen, they're bringing in dirt, and again, people say, well, why are you putting all that dirt out there? Because we haven't found anything that would stand the test of time for the ages. We don't want a bunch of apartments. We want retail. We would like condominiums. We would like offices, and it doesn't have to be one monolithic structure. There's room for 4 or 5 structures over there in varying degrees, and no developer has given us anything that meets that vision. But you've got a lot of things that are going to take place, and now that, like I said, we've relocated the elephants, it's just going to be a nice green lawn, but you have development that's fixing to occur all around that area, and that needs to be pretty to help spur that development.
Let's talk about growth and development. You and I have talked about the steps to manage the parkway just now. How about the rest of the county? Are building permits still up?
Building permits are going through the roof. You can't buy a house. If you do buy a house, you better buy it quick. You have a lot of investors flooding the market. I mean, we have people buying houses who've never seen these houses. They're just buying houses. And so that's a hot market. We've got a lot of subdivisions that have been approved. And again, very happy to see, thanks to council, our announced investment and study that we're doing in the Star Iva area and in those areas, because we already know that we have new subdivisions that are going to go down there. Some of them are going to be, 5-acre lots, because we got a huge demand for 5-acre lots, and that's about as pretty a place as you can be. So we're excited about that. As you know, we're also working with the school district on a variety of projects, very aggressive school district down there wanting to see growth and good things in that area, so we're working on that. So, whole lot of good things coming along.
How much of a marker is that? I mean, building permits when you're recruiting, people look and see how active is that one of the things they look at?
Well, they look, in a real company, a big company, they look at everything. I mean, they look, do you have a trail? I'm sorry, you know, people say, well, they don't look at that. They do look at that. Because it's no longer, let's go see those people in South Carolina because we can only pay them $2 an hour and they'll be happy as they can be. We don't play in that league anymore. We don't play in that market. We don't have to. So the people we want to come here, they want to see that kind of stuff because they're going to recruit people or hire people from here. I think that we could probably at TTI alone hire every engineer coming out of Clemson University. So we need to have something to keep people here. Nobody wants their kids moving away. And more I'm hearing of Junior is moved away, but now he wants to come back. And why does he want to come back? Because there are things to do here and it's getting better all the time.
Well, you mentioned TTI. They seem to never stop building. Is that
No, they're never going to stop building. It's going on. We've talked about it before. Somebody came up with the term reshore 30 years ago, that American companies were coming back to build here. Well, it didn't happen 30 years ago. You might have had one or two. But now you're seeing a lot of that because as economies rise throughout the world, when their middle classes are growing, and the huge cost in shipping and the problems you have with logistics, why not build it here, pay a very, very good wage, you cut down on your shipping cost, you cut down on supply problems, because you're just riding around in the United States, which is still the biggest market in the world.
And you're also not facing the continual threat of import fees, which are coming.
Which are coming, and the other thing is this, is if you're going to sell in the United States, it makes a lot of sense to build it in the United States.
Is Arthrex still on target to do all the things they want to do as fast as they wanted to do?
Well, as we talked earlier, they've got those 2 new buildings under construction, and I'm pretty sure they've got plans for other ones coming along.
Is April generally a good month for economic recruitment, or is it just no month really makes much difference?
It used to be seasonal. You could almost see the seasons of the year. Nobody was going to do anything in really December, January, February, you know. They just didn't do that. But now, like we had that announcement today at 2 o'clock with those 80 jobs, it's really all year round. December still gets a little slow.
Have you received an update on the rewire getting water and sewer up there at 85 and South Carolina 8?
Haven't had an update on that, but I know that if Rewa's doing it, they're on schedule and on time.
There's time's money on that for them.
Yes,
right?
it absolutely.
Do you think that area will grow like 85 and 81?
I think everything on the interstate is going to grow. I just know it is, and again, that's where we like it to grow on the interstate, so we can still have some of our nice, beautiful land around here.
So is that what's the update on the sewer from all those other exits going down towards Georgia?
Clemson, Pendleton, and Anderson County have come to an agreement. We've signed that agreement. We've selected an engineering firm, and we're looking at funding sources from grants. A lot of this stimulus money coming down, so we want to grab every bit of that because that's going to help the city of Clemson. It's going to help the town of Pendleton, and it's going to help Anderson County because that area is blowing up, and right now we're running out of sewer capacity in that area.
So exits 11 and 14, that will be the benefit from this
Yes.
agreement. I don't think a lot of people think about it. When you say Clemson, Pendleton, Anderson, they don't think about interstate down towards Georgia needing that desperately for.
Absolutely.
Y'all get a lot of people asking about that area?
We have a lot of people asking about everything in Anderson County. I'm not saying that boastfully, but I mean, really. I mean, we're on everybody's radar.
Well, being on everybody's radar, how does, where's the council on the budget for the upcoming fiscal year?
That will be absolutely no tax increase. We haven't had a tax increase in 13 years, to the best of my recollection. And everything seems to be coming along good, so we'll be able to do some things. Council's really interested in us getting that new jail built. We're in the preliminary phases of that right now, probably be a capacity of 750. Looking to design it so we can take federal prisoners, so the federal prison system can pay us for that, and doing something for juveniles, because now you have to carry juveniles to Columbia, and trying to do something that's going to be built for the ages, and that's going to be a long process, and it's going to be an expensive process, but it's time. and it was time 3 years ago. But
Well, yeah,
that's
you had
where
a
we
plan
are.
in place when COVID hit,
When
right?
COVID hit.
And so
And-
there's a design already ready to go.
Well, there's a design, but there's been so many advances in corrections construction that you have to take advantage. How you build it, in a way, determines how many detention officers you're gonna have. And should you put a court system in there, psychiatric evaluation, medical, all of these things, that place needs to be one-stop shop. You need to be able to do bond hearings out there, you need to be going. So that's a revolving thing. Now, we've been meeting with lots of companies who do this, and there are a lot of good ideas out there, and we're learning from a lot of people who've made mistakes. We know one county built a new jail and hadn't bothered to find out that there was a requirement they had to go hire 20 corrections officers, you know? That's a pretty big lick right
That'll
there.
surprise your budget, won't it?
That'll surprise it in a minute.
Speaking of updates, we're 8 months into the countywide EMS system. What are the numbers coming in looking like?
Hey, just before you leave the jail, yesterday we had 381 guests at the Anderson County Detention Center with our levels around 240.
Yeah, it's not getting any better.
And our new EMS QRV system is working remarkably well. We got the month's numbers yesterday. We're at 91% where we need to be. We still need to work on the tier twos, which is handled by a private company, but we're working on that. Our dispatch is working very good, but there's room for improvement there, not from the people who are there, but from assistance that we can give them and some organizational realignments that we need to do. Because God bless those men and women who work out there, and it is their week this week. Really, it's their month. And they're the backbone of the whole system. That call doesn't go through. There's not an ambulance moving. There's not a QRV moving. Police aren't coming, anything like that. And those are very technical, highly stressful jobs. So if you know someone who answers the phone in the 911 center, they're heroes every day.
They got a massive number of calls. The increase has gone crazy in the last couple
And you talk about seasonal things, summer's coming, the calls go through the roof.
Speaking of challenges, the county's got a litter ad hoc committee laying the groundwork to find new ways to take on roadside trash problems. One of the proposals includes maybe additional litter officers. Is that on the table at all?
Additional litter officers definitely on the table and probably will become reality. Council fights that litter battle every day. And also some tweaks to some laws that we can do, because you know the state limits what we can do on fines, because if it was up to our council, they'd have you shot if they caught you littering, but we can't do that because of state law. But
That's probably a pretty good limit there.
the other thing is also probably a more extensive use of cameras. While they serve a purpose, they're not the end all be all. But we think that that can be a strategic move. Council does that. We can do that, and you have a very energetic ad hoc sewer committee working on that.
And in the meantime, they've been scheduling cleanup days and pushing the Adopt a Spot program. Remind people the difference between the Adopt a Spot the county does and Adopt a Highway program.
Well, Adopt a Spot is you can just do a little bit of an area, or you can do a whole road. But we probably have about 85 places adopted right now.
Still put a sign up with the name of the people doing it?
We'll put your name up there if you want to keep that area clean. So, but we do that, and again, working in schools every day on education, because education's the only thing that's going to cure it. You can't put every police officer out there to get everybody who litters. And we're also going to reach out to some commercial restaurant type organizations, because they really become litter hotspots, because people eat and then just throw it out, and a lot of different things like that.
Well, from ground to the air, what's the latest at the airport? Anything new? Is the
This week-
playground close to being finished?
Well, we're finally getting the last numbers we need on the playground. We have $150,000 that's been pledged. I think we're about to pick up another pledge, and hopefully we're going to have that in sometime before the summer ends. This week we probably had one of the busiest days at the airport. Our conference room out there is now doing what we thought it would. We have people in Anderson, companies in Anderson, that they use our conference room, and the other people fly in and they meet in the county conference room, which is an executive type conference room. So every time somebody flies in and they buy jet fuel, we're happy, because that's what pays for that airport, jet fuel.
And the playground is close probably?
Very close, very close.
Anything else moving out to the old Singer Ryobi TTI building? That's become a hub of activity for the county with economic development, sheriff's training, other things.
But you know, we have a 911 center, but you have to have a backup 911 center. And we're probably, thanks to Josh Hawkins, 95% complete on our backup 911 center, which is right there connected to the biggest source of power and telecommunications in the world. So we're really excited about that, because in the past we had one, wasn't like this, but Josh has done a great job getting that ready, so that's going in. We've had another company coming in there to occupy some space. They're a telecommunications consulting company, and they're in there while they look for a new facility here in the Anderson area. So it's doing everything that it was supposed to do. It's
Yeah,
sheriff's training facility, economic development offices, public works, solid waste, and maybe one day we're going to finish our brand new county garage maintenance facility for vehicles, and so that's coming along.
I was just gonna say, how important is the acquisition of that building being, because, I mean, you look at it now and you think, what did we do all these things before this?
I've told you 100 times when we took it over, I was sitting there going, boy, I don't know what we're gonna do. And now if it was twice as big, we could fill it up with companies, soft landings, and all of those things. And we have some other governmental state entities that are gonna move in there. And so it's continuing to move.
And what about counties provide a ride to work? Is that still underway? Seeing
Yeah,
success stories
We're
from
seeing
it?
success stories on that, and that new thing with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, where you can rent a van and be the captain of that van, you can use it for free. We're trying to roll that out, which gives you really 3 ways to go around, 4 if you think about it. Our Uber deal, the city bus service is one. The other one is with Senior Solutions that we have going on, and this other one's really a 4th one. And hopefully we're going to be able to tackle that monster in one of those 4 ways.
Anything else on the horizon you can talk about?
We just have more economic development announcements taking place, and more people moving here, and we talked about the Swalloway, but we've got a lot of other festivals coming up too. Got the Honeysopping coming up, and Honeypath, which is a big deal, it's almost in a way experiencing a rebirth to get back to what it used to be. You've got festivals in Belton. You had a very successful chili cook-off in Belton, big deal. You had a very successful Spring Jubilee, as you well know. The Rhythm on the River in Powdersville, and just every town's having something or doing something or doing something. So it's usually someplace you can go on the weekend and not leave Anderson County.